welcome, Tom. I'm Ben.
Thanks.
I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold. This is Tom Hackney from Great Britain, and we're here talking about the new exhibit at the World Chess Hall of Fame. When did you first get interested in chess and Marcel Duchamp?
I started playing chess as a junior, maybe playing around 5 or 6, and then at primary school or elementary school, where my head teacher was very keen on chess. And around about the same time, I also enjoyed making drawings, making paintings. They were the two sort of parallel interests, really, for me.
And did you become more of an artist and stop playing chess? Did it sort of one go up and one went down?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed playing chess in a spirit of a kind of playful way that children play, and because we had good instruction at our school, lots of us went on and played at small tournaments. And I really enjoyed that. The point where I veered away from it slightly was where we had to, when I was sort of 10 or 11, and we had to start using clocks. And I suppose it's sort of at an age when you're a bit more self-aware. So it changed the nature of the play.
I have a funny parallel with my life. I learned about the same time you did, 5 or 6. And when I was probably before 10, I was just losing.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't a gifted junior. And then when I was 10, something just turned on, and I became good at chess. It was very strange, because between 10 and 12, and Bobby Fischer actually said, like, they asked him, when did you get good at chess? He's like, I don't know, I just got good all of a sudden. Now, was your interest in Duchamp very recent, or did you always have that as an artist?
I think an awareness of Duchamp is something you sort of have to have. I think if you're thinking about art and making art, it's something that you have to kind of cross. It's a bridge that you have to cross. And I suppose my interest pre-existed this work, but since making this work, it's really developed.
It's piqued your interest.
Yeah, and it's also it's a really interesting way into Duchamp, looking at him in the context of his chess play, and how that relates to his art and subsequent art.
Yeah, before, when I was getting better at chess, I knew about Duchamp from a chess point of view. I knew he was an artist, but didn't know much about the art. And I knew, like, a lot of famous people are good chess players, but he actually was a good chess player. Right. So that was very interesting for me, because a lot of times when I hear about a famous person in some other field is good at chess, that means they know how to play. Yep. Not necessarily that they're an expert or a master, but I think Duchamp was quite a strong master, and obviously he's well known in the art world, so it's a really good connection, I think, for us.
Yeah, I suppose one interest I have in how he approached the game was that he was always looking to innovate, or I've heard it described that his playing style was kind of cavalier, and perhaps he was sometimes playing a beautiful game rather than an effective game.
So I see around the exhibit here some of the Duchamp paintings, or some of your paintings based on Duchamp's chess games. Some of them are 90% black and white with a little gold, and some of them have lots of different colors. Can you tell us the difference and why some games are like that?
Whereas the black and white games are painted in the sequence of first move to last, so in effect they're depicting the end games, or the compositions are sort of more influenced by the end games. The colour games are painted in reverse, so from last move to first. So I decided to do that because I wanted to see the imprint of the openings rather than the end games, thinking about openings as being perhaps more constrained by convention.
But for somebody like me, when you do a drawing like this, or a chess game based on art, how long does each individual one take you, or are you doing several at once, or do you just concentrate on one?
I started off making them one at a time, and then probably rather like you with your chess games, you start to think, well, I can probably make 3 or 4 at once. And
nice parallel.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't do that just for the sake of generating lots of work. It's actually a very engaging process to be tracking several games at once. Although I wouldn't say I'm fully conscious of the progress of each game, I'm more conscious of the progress of each painting.
Very interesting.
As a grandmaster, Ben, how do you read these paintings? Are there things, I mean, because they can appear quite abstract, but I wonder what you can extract from them.
It's funny, when I look at them, some things like jut out at me, where it seems like the way certain pieces moves, I can see like, okay, that was a knight move, and then some things I'm like, what is that? And I'm like wondering, like, I think if I looked at it for a long time, I would have like some idea what the moves were. But I can feel that it's a chess game and that certain things are happening, but it's so much different from chess, but it's a representation, so it's really interesting for me. Now, what would Duchamp say about these? Would he say, "Oh yeah, that's my game with so and so"? Would he recognize?
There's, I think, possibly, yeah. I mean, he was fond of particular games. I think he had a draw against Tartakova, I think, that he was very, very pleased with, and kept the score and had it set in a kind of resin.
Of the ones that you did for this exhibit, do you have one that you particularly like, or is different than the others, or that you really thought was great? Because, like for me, it's for chess, it's hard to answer that. So I don't know if it's the same for you.
The first Duchamp game that I painted, perhaps had it not had such an interesting composition, perhaps I might not have pursued it further.
A few years ago, we had a live chess game out between the Hall of Fame and the chess club, and we had people were playing chess pieces. And I remember Gadakomsky said, "I want to be a chess piece." He says, "I want to be a knight." He says, "It would be great. You could move around like a knight." And we were all puzzled, but it sounds like this is a common theme.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's unlike any other move, unlike any other piece in how it moves, in how it jumps, and also in the color set. Duchamp came up with a design for a color chess set around 1920.
What do you think about the color chess set and how that affected any of the work that you did even?
For me, it represents an instance of where Duchamp is not just showing these sort of innovations within the game, but using the game itself as a kind of piece and making these innovations outside of the game. So I think it's a reflection of that kind of a mind, rather like Fischer chess, or where it's like the game, you feel you can improve on the game somehow. I think with the colour set, it was perhaps an indication of the artist looking at the game of chess, and perhaps he saw moves in terms of colour. And so he described in a letter this idea for a colour chess set where the pieces were given certain colours according to how they moved. So for instance, the queen would be coloured green because it was a combination of how the rook and the bishop moved, which were yellow for the bishop and blue for the rook. In the colour set that he designed, the knight was red, being the kind of signal red colour that stands against the others, partly for how it moved, for the significance that he gave the knight.
So I remember when I was 16, the first time I went abroad, I went to England to play in a chess tournament. It was very exciting for me. Being in a new country, playing new people, trains, everything, flying, everything was different for me. This is your first exhibit in the US, and this is as a solo. Is this really exciting for you like it was for me, or is this all the same to you?
No, it's fantastic. It's a chance to show the work on a bigger scale to a completely different audience, but also here at the World Chess Hall of Fame, to show it to an audience that have a different kind of insight into the material that I'm working with. So that makes for a very exciting prospect. Yeah,
this is definitely the place to show artwork that also has a chess theme. This is the place in the US that you really want to be showcased.
Yeah, and I think with these works, I've shown them in various places before, but perhaps they appear as abstract paintings, whereas here, perhaps the fullness of the work can be appreciated. And it's also nice to make the same journey west that Duchamp made from Europe to the States.
Yeah, it's all symmetrical somehow.
Yeah.
How did this exhibit come to be in the United States? And well, this isn't the only place it's being shown.
It was previously shown in New York with Francis Naumann, who's a big Duchamp scholar and chess aficionado as well. And around about the time I began on this work, he hosted the Marcel Duchamp Art of Chess exhibition and produced a book which I read in my studio back in London back in 2009.
It's just like in chess, everything takes a long time for it to come to fruition.
Yes. I've been working on these paintings for nearly 9 years now. And this is the first time I've ever shown a sizable collection of them together. And it's just, yeah, the series has grown very steadily over that time. The further I have gone with this series of work, the more information it throws out. So, for instance, I went to the archive at the Philadelphia Museum of Art recently and had a look through some of Duchamp's chess-related materials, which unearthed new games that I hadn't seen archived, and got to see various notation that he'd made or diagrams. So the further into this I get, I find the more possibilities are opened.
So the people who come to see the exhibit, what would you like them to take away and maybe learn from this mixing of chess and art and Duchamp and chess games and all this? Oh, it's just wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I hope that with the addition of the Duchamp artifacts, it perhaps attaches the work more explicitly to the material that I make them from, or that they're drawn from. Well, when I'm making these games, I'm very aware of the era in which they were played, or the place and the time, and so whilst on the one hand they may appear as these autonomous kind of abstract paintings, their relationship with this subject matter is really important to me, so it's great to have a chance to show them alongside these Duchamp artifacts, and hopefully the viewer will be able to make those sorts of connections too. And
so what's next for Tom Hackney? What's going on in the art world, and is this going to be expanded in some way?
There's a possibility of an exhibition in Switzerland towards the end of the year, so once I'm back from the States, then it's back to the studio and looking at some of these materials again and see what rises.
Well, I wanted to thank you for bringing your exhibit here to the Hall of Fame, and it's just wonderful for people like me to see the mixing of art and chess. It's a real pleasure to meet an artist who also has a chess background, and I think everybody who comes to the exhibit will enjoy.
Well, thank you very much. Great to talk, Ben.
You too.